But as you know, in my stance on leadership, that leadership is calling for everybody. There's just different levels of leadership, maybe different responsibilities of leadership, but we all have the ability to be a leader. Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hey everybody, welcome back to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and I want to thank you for joining me on another episode. You guys, I'm having a lot of fun putting these together. You know, we try new things. We're bringing different type of guests on. We're coming up with different resources, information, conversational topics to have, and I really hope that in some shape or form it's adding value to you. And so my calling, my mission here, my vision is to be able to help you lead well, to help you on your journey of leadership so you can grow and you continue to pivot and adjust along the way and learn to lead better and to tap and unleash your potential. And so I appreciate you joining me, because that's what we're trying to do here. And so if this is adding value to you, I just have one little favor to ask, and that is, can you share it? You probably have somebody on mind that you're thinking, saying, hey, they need to hear this. And so why don't you pass it along, comment, let us know what you think, share your thoughts, and even send me some questions or thoughts about it. I would actually greatly appreciate that. And so anyway, I've been thinking lately about some things, like I'm always am. And, one of the thoughts that popped into my mind is this idea that leadership starts in the home. And it's one of those things that I actually do value a lot, and I believe in quite a bit. If you tapped into my last episode, you saw that I had my oldest son on the episode, and we chatted. I allowed him to ask some questions that he had determined and that he wanted to talk about, and it was his first time being on a podcast, and so I really enjoyed that, to be able to do that with my son. And I think you're gonna find some value out of that if you did not hear it yet. But that's an example for me, when I had Santiago on the podcast, is where I have an opportunity to pour into him at his age. You know, he's 10 years old. But as you know, in my stance on leadership, that leadership is calling for everybody. There's just different levels of leadership, maybe different responsibilities of leadership. But we all have the ability to be a leader, and I believe that in my kids wholeheartedly. And so when I am talking about leadership, when I'm writing on leadership, whether it's a podcast form, whether I'm speaking to a crowd, whether I'm writing some sort of blog or newsletter thing, I know that it's important for me to remember that leadership starts in the home. Because I can easily go talk about theory, I can talk about principles, and I can talk about ideas, but if I'm not practicing it and I'm not actually putting it into action and I'm not living it out, then we have a problem. And I believe in this idea that we do have to serve. We do have to have projects we're working on. We do have to have teams we're leading. So when I'm talking to you here, what we're sharing, what I'm sharing, it's not just theory. I assure you that what I'm talking about, I've not only done, or I am doing, or I'm planning on doing, but mostly I'm actually in the fight just as you are. Not because leadership looks different in different arenas, but we are applying the same principles. And so as I think about it, as when I say that leadership starts in the home, I put that into practice every day. Now, am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I fail? Mm-hmm. Am I still trying to figure things out? You betcha. And so having kids is definitely a challenge sometimes, because you got to talk to them differently. They learn in different ways. They have different strengths and weaknesses, different styles, different things that they like. And so it is definitely a job in itself to try to teach them how to think, teaching them how to react, and the things that they should be thinking about in the future. All that kind of stuff entails in that. And so how we lead in the home matters, because you could be leading a company, you could be leading groups of people outside of your home, and you could be failing at home. And so it's important for me to bring this topic up because I value that, and I strive to consistently be consistent, that my life is consistent at home, and my life is what I do at home is in the same way out there in my company or in my groups and teams that I lead. And so my kids are always on my mind, and that's why I had Santiago on the show last week. But I think about, how am I leading myself at home? See, every morning you get up and you look at a person in the mirror, and that person is you. And so how you lead yourself is going to matter as well, right? How you think, how you handle your circumstances, how you handle your emotions, your belief systems, the different things that are going on a daily basis, how you lead yourself through that is going to really matter. And so it starts in the morning. If you don't fully have a team, or you're still trying to figure things out in your career or in any project you're working on, well, make sure that you're leading yourself well, that you're leading the person in the mirror properly, so then that you can be consistent in everything you do, because then ripples into how you're leading your kids. What about if you have a spouse and you're married? How is that interaction taking place on a daily basis? See, leadership is an art, but there's such an intricate part in it. There's details in leadership that matter, that we need to comprehend, like how we communicate, how we listen, how we address a person, how we treat people. Are we treating them with love, with kindness? And our spouse definitely lands in that. If we're not trying to strive to have a great marriage, well, how does that then translate when you're dealing with other people that are not part of your family? I want to encourage you to think about these things, because how you lead at home will definitely affect how you lead elsewhere. Let me give you another example, or maybe another way to think on this. If you're having a real bad day at home, you're going to take it somewhere else. And the truth applies in vice versa. How many times have you had a horrible day at work or outside of your home, and you bring it back at home? And so having this mindfulness of understanding that everything's interlocked, everything, it is connected. And so if we become more purposeful and intentional about how we lead, we realize that, hey, yeah, sometimes I can make compartments. Sometimes I can break things apart, and I can leave, work over here and home over here. And yes, there are certain things to be said about that. There are certain things to say, hey, when you come home, leave work at work and leave the home stuff at home. For sure, there's things that we can probably dissect and talk about. But the reality is that there's things that are going to be always consistent. There's going to be things that you should be proud of saying, hey, how I lead at home is how I lead at work. How I think at home is how I think at work. How I process, or the mindset that I have over here, it's going to be the same here, because we want to have this mindset of wholeness. We want to have this mindset that we have a character and integrity across the board. It doesn't change. You don't have business ethics in business and no ethics at home. Like, you don't think a certain way at home, and you don't, abuse your spouse or abuse your kids at home, and then you don't do it at work. Like, you need to have consistency, because it will follow you. You want to be able to say, hey, I'm a person of character. I serve my family, and I serve my friends, my coworkers, anybody that I get to work with. I'm the same person at home as I am at work. I'm kind. I'm loving. I bring peace. I bring joy. I bring these different characteristics because it's who I am. So I want to encourage you in your leadership development, in your leadership growth, in your leadership journey. Figure out who you are. Commit to some core values, some core principles that are going to make you the leader that you want to be. And make sure that you practice the consistency of being a leader that is predictable. There's something to be said about, being unpredictable, or sometimes there is that negative thing about being predictable, like you always make those same mistakes. Hey, but there's actually something to be said about being predictable in a positive way, or predictable in a good way. Are you a predictable leader? So, do you lead the same way in all areas of your life? Does your character follow you in all areas of your life? Are you the same way at home as you are outside of the home, as you are when you're traveling, as when you're with coworkers, or with your specific types of friends, or when you're with family? Are you the same person? Really think about that, because the reality is that some of us are not. And some of us drop the ball. We play a game of like, I'm going to pretend I'm somebody that I'm not. I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm going to do a bunch of things so people accept me. I'm going to pretend that I'm actually doing better than I am. And we forget to practice this honesty rule and this real leadership rule of like, we want to be real with people. Because you know what? If we're not, people find us out. People end up, realizing who we really are, and then they don't trust us. And leadership is all about trust. Leadership is about building relationships. Leadership is about investing in other people. And one way we do that is by creating this trust that we're talking about. And if people can't trust us, well, it's going to be really hard to lead people. And so I want to really encourage you to think about that. And you got to think about it for yourself and what that means to you. I know for me, I have to consistently remind myself that, and you know what, the reality, can we have an honest moment here, is that sometimes there's been moments in my life where I have led better outside of the home. I have led teams better. I've treated people better outside of the home than I've done my own family. I've been there for people outside of my house. I've been there for other people more than I have for my family. And because you can get caught up in this work mode, you can get caught up in this success mode, in this accomplishment mode, and you forget that the people that matter to you also need to be led and need to be treated well and need to be loved and need to be invested in. And so that's why I'm talking about this, because we all have the opportunity to drop the ball on that or to make it better. And so if we realize that, hey, leadership starts in the home, that I am actually building, characteristics in the home by the way I treat my children, by what I talk to them about, by what I teach them, how I talk to myself. What am I saying to me, and what am I learning, and what am I attracting? What am I investing in to make me better? How am I treating my spouse? How am I treating those closest to me? How I lead in those capacities affect me as a person, as an individual, in how I approach or how I show up in other parts of my life. And the goal here is that we want to show up and be the same everywhere, because then we don't have to remember, hey, who we are. We're one person. Yes, we wear different hats. And yes, we have different levels of responsibility. But as leaders, if we can pride ourselves in saying, yes, but I always use the same values, the same value system, or the same principles to make decisions. I always use the same type of filters to look at things, or I use the same thought process on how I'm going to lead or how I'm going to treat others. Then you're going to set yourself up for success, and you're going to build foundations that are going to be duplicatable and that are going to be easy to follow and easy to continue to build on, because you're becoming predictable on the way you lead. And so I want to encourage you to take some time to think on that, to think about how your leadership is in rooms that don't matter as much, in rooms that do matter a lot, or how is your leadership in rooms where you think it doesn't matter. See, sometimes we think that in the home it doesn't matter, maybe because that's not what pays the bills, or that's not producing something immediately, like in your business or like in whatever project you're leading. But let me assure you that how you act and react in the home matters more than you think. It might seem insignificant because they're just playtime or just rest time or just hangout time at home. But those moments matter. And how you perceive that, how you react to that, how you use that time at home in your household, I promise you will affect how everything else takes place in your life. Leadership begins in the home. Take some personal inventory on how you're leading yourself, how you're leading your kids, how you're leading your spouse, how you're leading your family, and allow that to be maybe your, in some cases, your R&D, your research and development, and allow that to make you a better person. So then you can also give your best outside of the home, but you're also not bringing leftovers to the house. You're giving your best at home, and you're giving your best over here. It's not partly of, you're not giving yourself only a percentage over here and a bigger percentage over there. We want to have this consistency that we level ourselves out, and our families will love us for it. They will believe in us. They will invest in us. They will encourage us. And there's nothing more exciting and more giving and profitable and just life giving when you know that your home life is doing amazing and you're building something so beautiful that it allows you to feel like, man, you can go give elsewhere, and you give out of abundance and not of scarcity. You give out of generosity. You give out of this idea of saying, I just want to continue what I'm doing at home, and I want to continue and multiply it elsewhere. And it's incredible because it'll show people will respect you for that. People want to follow you. People want to know more. And that's the journey that I'm on, that I continue to do that, whether I'm in the home, in the boardroom, in my business, or leading a small team of whatever it is. I'm making it a goal to be consistent in my leadership. So I'm not only showing up and leading in one area and dropping the ball in another. I want you to think on that today. Shorter episode again today, but these are simple truths that you can think on and just spend some time meditating and reflecting on what has worked in the past and what hasn't. And the cool thing about it is if you've dropped the ball, you can draw a line in the sand and restart today and start making those different choices right now and see your leadership life change, and you can see the people around you change as well because of that positive impact you're going to create. I hope this helps you. Like I said before, if this adds value to you, comment, share, let us know what you think. I really appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and I hope this has made you better, because it is a win-win when the leader leads well. Bye for now. We'll talk to you soon.